So I was surprised last week when Max led services that he also started by talking about food, which is what I'm about to do. So I will go to just about anything where there is free food. Lunch and learn, free food, I'm there. Evening meet and greet, light hors d'oeuvres, count me in. Do some work and get free ice cream. Hello, I am here to help. Food motivates a lot of what I do, but food isn't everything. For my first birthday as a resident here in Cincinnati, I had invited most of the people I knew in the city, which was a pretty small circle of friendly faces. And one by one, they started to cancel their plans to come over. I was left with all of the food, not much in the way of community, and a pretty grim outlook on my birthday. This particular birthday happened to fall on a Friday night, so it was not just about food or about my birthday, but it was about Shabbat. That lonely Friday evening was when it all changed. That's when I realized that it was time to expand my community. The promise of good food and even a birthday celebration weren't going to cut it. It would take about a year to get things rolling, but soon my husband and fellow rabbinical student Max and I began to fill our home week after week, Shabbat after Shabbat, with home-cooked food and fabulous community. As we expanded our community and realized the number of people coming through our home, we started to hear whispers from some of our friends outside of HUC. They were asking more questions about Judaism, and they were looking for ways to engage Jewishly in the community. This year, I have been involved in creating a series of Shabbat dinners around town that bring together young adults looking to engage in the Jewish community. It seems to me that nobody comes to these dinners because they are just another nice dinner party. There has to be something more to get a young adult in the door on a Friday night from 7 to 11. Perhaps people are coming with more than one kind of hunger. Sure, they crave Max's challah, maybe my salmon, but many of our young adults in this area and across the United States are hungry for something else. They are hungry to make themselves a part of something bigger than themselves, to feel valued, to not only feel a part of a community, but to feel moved by that community. With the powers of social media and apps like GroupMeet, Meetup, dare I say, Tinder, Grindr, or JSwipe, people can search for community at the touch of a button or a swipe to the left or to the right on their cell phones. You can even form a community without ever leaving your computer. You can find that kickball club, acro yoga, or trivia group in town. But these clubs and communities that we join are not where young adults are confronted with meaning-making opportunities or a sense of connectedness to something bigger. Despite tons of opportunities and events for young adults that happen each and every Friday night, the table, the Shabbat table, is continually full. So what's missing from these other Friday night opportunities? Those other opportunities are missing the feeling of judgment-free inclusion and the doubt-free knowledge of belonging. They tend to lack the opportunity for participants to feel like others truly see them. Those other events are absent of prayer and of historic ritual that connect participants to a religion that is meant to be discussed, challenged, and engaged. Do you remember your time in high school? Are some of you still in high school? Yeah? Wandering through the halls to your classes with 5, maybe 10 minutes to get there, feeling anonymous, disconnected as you sped to your next destination day after day. And then one weekend, you found your way to a NIFTY or BBYO regional event or an HUC weekend, and you connected back to a community of conversation with age-appropriate dialogue, so that you could bond with your peers and develop a community of meaning. In some small way, that is what the table, the Shabbat table, provides. That is why people keep coming. We never lose that need for dialogue and conversation with our peers. And as adults, that need only grows. And soon we realize that the ways that Judaism provides a different sense of community, one that fills our hunger for purpose. We are all on a journey to feel a sense of connectedness to this world, for the opportunity to participate in an aspect of life that is bigger than ourselves. Take Rabbi Daniel Hartman's message of peoplehood in Judaism. He says, in our era of fractured identities, Judaism can be a grounding influence that allows us to try on other identities without losing our sense of self. Without being in an interrelated or interconnected community, we start to lose our sense of self. In high school, we may have had our parents, a youth director, a friend, or a rabbi who reached out to us, who sent us on our way to Jewish events. It could also be that we were without these influences, and we did not engage in those kinds of communities. But as we grow older, those choices are now on us as individuals and on the community of young adults who have the autonomy to both reach out and to turn within. Those who are already Jewishly engaged should seek opportunities to reach out, to find those who are in search of community, and to have an ear open for moments of hospitable invitation. One of our most talked about biblical characters, Abraham, is known for his outreach, his engagement, and his hospitality. In this week's parasha, Lech Lecha, Abraham and Sarah begin the journey out of their ancestors' land and toward the mysterious new nation that God will show them. And then in next week's parasha, while in the midst of their journey, Abraham and Sarah will open the tents of their home to the visiting angels. Just the beginning of their hospitality. In Avot de Rabbi Natan, a minor tractate of Talmud, we learn that the hospitality of Job, who was considered a pretty hospitable guy, had not even one half the standard of hospitality displayed by Abraham. So how was Abraham's hospitality greater than Job's, they ask. The text further tells of how Abraham went out in the world and met those who passed by and brought them into his tent. He even reached those who were unaccustomed to the different foods and the different drink that he had to offer. The category of people referred to in this text are the poor, but we can broaden that category to include all who pass through our community. And we learn from the hospitality of Abraham that it is our obligation as Jews to bring people in and make them feel a part of our group, a part of our people. When we declare, I am a Jew, we establish a connection to the millions of Jews who came before us. This is the peoplehood, the attachment to group, the movement from I to us. Meaningful connections like the ones Abraham would make with those who pass by, these are the connections that can change our lives. When someone reaches out to us, we feel seen and we feel valued. This sense of value helps us to define our purpose, and it drives our path forward toward discovery and meaningful existence. And I've been blessed with many such interactions. And there's one story in particular that I hold very dear to my heart, but I think it's a story that could be shared by anyone. So when I was in college figuring out my latest choice in major, at my latest choice in university, I was talking to my mom on the phone about the Jewish Studies program. And I hung up and I turned around and I encountered a nice young man who was standing before me. And he looked like he had a question. And he said, I'm really sorry for eavesdropping, but are you Jewish? And I said, yes. And he handed me treats for the holiday of Purim, mishloach manot. This encounter led to a Shabbat dinner invitation that led to me meeting my grandmother's childhood neighbor from Cincinnati. That led to many more days and evenings spending time with the small Jewish community on my college campus in Kansas City. So after moving to a new university for the spring semester of my first year of college, feeling completely lost, completely disconnected, the Jewish community found me. I found the Jewish community, and I felt like I belonged to something again. And it was all because I was passing by and somebody decided to bring me in. And just last week, I felt like I got to pay it forward, this sort of hospitality and community. I was sitting with a number of friends, actually all of whom are here today, at Coffee Emporium downtown doing homework, when a young man noticed Max's kippah, and he approached our table and he asked if we were Jewish. And he said he had just moved to town and he was still trying to figure out what all the young Jews in town were doing and what they were up to. We chatted for a bit, got his information, and we genuinely followed up. We connected him with the right groups, invited him to the next Shabbat dinner. Brad, he's coming to dinner. And we let him know that if he needed anything to help him adjust to this new city, we were here to help. There are still a plethora of reasons for young adults to stay Jewish and to embrace Judaism. We just have to find the good reasons for them to tap into that potential. Because once they do, the community's life will be prolonged, and the future of the Jewish people will continue. The Shabbat dinner table is just one place where we can tap into that potential. But we must continue to look for opportunities to connect, to reach out, and to be that grounding influence in the life of a Jewish young adult. Shabbat Shalom. In our era of fractured identities, may we all be like Abraham. May we all encounter his hospitality, and may we all ground ourselves in a Jewish identity that is full of authentic experiences where we connect to something greater than ourselves. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.